A few years ago, I was carrying with me 5 different lenses, sometimes even more on every shoot. My bag was always heavy, my decisions were pretty slow, and honestly, my photography wasn't any better because of it. But then, my friend, I made a massive change. I stripped it down to mostly 2 lenses, and it completely transformed how I shoot. So in this video, I'll show you why these 2 lenses are pretty much all I need, even in this day and age. Plus, I recently, just picked up a new lens that might actually narrow it down to pretty much just 1. Pretty sick. I'll show you that one too. All right, so the first lens that's pretty much always a part of my setup, but might maybe be losing its place now because of this new lens that I just ordered. More on that a little bit later. It's of course this lens right here. I pretty much use it for everything: landscape, street photography, and the rare times I go out and do portrait photography. And of course talking about the Sony 24-70mm Mark II. Now this lens, I mean, it's not cheap. It's rather expensive, like so many other things in the camera world. So my friends, I'll give you some alternatives, as well as alternatives for you APS-C users out there. But man, the quality I'm able to get with this lens, fantastic. And personally, I'm just such a fan of the focal length between 24-70, because that's what I mostly use. You have fairly wide angle. It's not ultra wide angle, but it's it's wide enough for most scenarios, and you're able to punch in. And if you utilize the Super 35 mode, the APS-C mode on your Sony camera, then you can actually punch it in to even more. So that's around 100mm. And then you can also utilize the clear image zoom as well, so get an even more range. So that is something cool to keep in mind, and that I like. Now, as I told you guys, this one, it's quite expensive. So for the longest time, I had this one here. This is the Sigma 24-70mm 2 f2.8, the older version. Sigma has a newer version too, but the difference really is the weight. This one is 30% lighter, if I remember correctly, while this one is quite heavy. So that's something to keep in mind. Sigma has made a newer version too. I think they're then similar in weight, which is an important factor to keep in mind. And if you're wondering quality-wise, I personally can't say a huge quality. I've tried them side by side, and I don't know, I think both fantastic. Now, if you are then an APS-C shooter, then my friend, I would 100% recommend either the Sony 16-55mm f2.8, really good lens, or if you want something smaller and a lot cheaper, then the Sigma isn't 18-50mm f2.8. Also so good, and that lens is super tiny. And in all honesty, if I could only pick one lens for the rest of my life, then it might very well just be this, because it's so versatile. No matter if you're doing low light, the f2.8 lets in quite a lot of light. If you're doing portraits, you get beautiful bokeh and just a fantastic range to work with. Landscape photography, street photography, you name it, this is a workhorse. I use it on a good friend of mine who's a full-time fashion photographer. I think he uses this 90-something% of his time when he's out working. So my friend, a total workhorse. Now, when it comes to them picking the second lens in the kit, because I do believe that you kind of only need 2 lenses. However, you will have to pick and choose. Do you want to go super wide, or do you want to get more zoom capabilities? And that has to be something that you decide. For me, I own both options. And when I'm going out to longer adventures, then I might carry with me 3, maybe even 4 if I'm going all crazy. I know I'm living on adrenaline, But most of the time, I want to limit myself to 2 lenses, just for the sake that I don't want to carry everything with me. And then, my friends, when I have the 24-70mm, I have to pick and choose. But I just ordered a new lens that might make this you'll know in a second, okay? But let's start with a wide angle, and then I have an option for others too. So I just wanted to quickly add that one of the hidden benefits of limiting yourself to just 1 or 2 lenses, apart from the fact that obviously it's much lighter and takes up less space in your camera bag, is the fact that it forces you to be more creative, because you're only got a certain amount of focal length. Now, I know that you guys who listen to this and watching and mainly uses prime lenses, if you look at me and be like, bruh, what are you talking about? You have zoom lenses in your kit, you have so much focal length to choose from. But for me, who relies so much on different zoom lenses and so much guilty of always carrying with me too many glasses, then this is a game changer for me, because it forces me to be more creative. Plus, it reduces the decision-making time by a ton, because that's like, it's what I got there. I just want to add that. So the wide angle that I have is here. This is the Sigma 16 to 28 millimeter f2.8. It's like a pretty decent lens. It's not bad at all. The quality, very, very good. I like it's small, pretty lightweight, goes down to f2.8, good in low light scenarios. I've never been a huge fan of that it only goes to like 28. Sony has one that goes to 35, which is much more versatile. Remember, clear image zoom and all that, and you can really have like 16 to almost 50 millimeter, very versatile lens, while this one is only to 28, and you can like maybe take it down to 30 something if you use the clear image zoom. Equivalent to 30. It's not like really the same, but I don't know, who cares? Now, it is quite budget friendly in the like realms of photography, and it's quite robust. I dropped this lens once so hard. You can maybe see it here. Let's see if you can catch that. It's pretty smashed here. So I can't put filters anymore, but the lens works perfectly, and more importantly, the autofocus still works, because if you drop your lenses, sometimes the autofocus just goes like now, other alternatives for sure. I've been eyeing the Sigma 14 to 24 millimeter for like ultra wide angle, but then you have this lens, how do you say that in English, where it goes like this, and then there's no way to put any filters on it. But that is definitely something that I've been eyeing. But for my setup, then this is 100% something that I would keep in mind and use. However, if you want to get like more zoom capabilities and more compressed look, then obviously picking an ultra wide angle lens wouldn't be what you want to do. And let's face it, a 24 millimeter, it's still quite wide. Of course, having down to 16 or even below, you're able to get like very, very wide angle, perfect for some sort of like landscape photos or just architecture or any type of scenarios where you find you want that ultra wide angle look. But there are many, many, many scenarios where a zoom capability is just better, even in landscape, because you get that compressed look. But portraits and wildlife photography, or just anything that you think about, then my friend, you would definitely want a good zoom. Now, there are multiple zooms on the market. I have one, I own actually two, and I'll show you one of them that is my favorite, and then alternative to it as well. And my friends, I'm not forgetting you APC I shouldn't swear like that. However, before I do that, and yes, let's not forget the lens that I just picked up, which I was hoping it would arrive today, but it hasn't. But I have a feeling that that might actually replace all of this, which is pretty crazy. I'm not sure yet, but I have a feeling of it, and I'll tell you in a second, because that lens is also really budget friendly. But before we talk about all that, then I just want to say a huge thank you for today's sponsors, Artlist. Now, you guys that watch me, you know that I don't do a ton of sponsored videos. However, if you're serious about your content game or like your photography / freelance game in general, then you really want to see this. So Artlist has been like monumental in my journey as a full-time creative, even as a freelancer. I've personally been using them exclusively for years, getting all of my music, sound effects, stock footage, and templates, and just so much more. Everything they have at one site. I love it. Plus, my friend, they're without doubt just the best in the business. However, they just added something mind-blowing to their product suite that really, in my opinion, solidifies them as the like best one-stop go for all photographers and creatives out there, and that's AI-generated videos. So basically, now you can create high-quality videos of whatever your imagination has to offer. Up here, my friend. And what I truly value is that Artlist has really managed to make this whole process super simple and user-friendly, even for like not smart people like your boy right here. And as you can see, you can pick by variety of different looks. And one of the coolest parts is that you can even get help by the prompts. Once you've written something, you just click here and it will help you make the prompt even better and more clear, which is a game changer and one of the most important parts in creating and generating good-looking videos. And the best part? All of your creations are covered by the Artlist license to use in your own work. So I've been playing around a little bit with this feature now, and in my opinion, it's really nice and good for the times when like you forget to film something and you need a very specific clip. Now you can just generate it and boom. Couldn't be easier, right? The future is really like here. Again, down in the description, there is a link, and thank you, Artlist, for helping me make my visions come to life. Anyway, onto the lenses, because, my friends, this is pretty serious and pretty sick and pretty exciting. We have a good time here, me and you, right? Smack the like button for me. Anyway, for the times that I like need a good telephoto lens, then as you probably noticed here, there is one that is like, in my opinion, one of the best lenses maybe that I've ever tried, but I don't use it that much. Maybe I should use it more, but that is the Sony 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8 Mark II. Now, this is not a cheap lens, and it took me quite a lot of self persuasion before I bought it. You know that when you're like gonna buy something that doesn't really make sense, but you really want it, but it's quite expensive. So you're like telling yourself that it's a good idea. You're like, yes, I really need it. Yeah, I will get more job. People will see me with a wide lens and they will think, that guy must be a professional. Let's hire him. Something along those lines, you know? And that's exactly what I did. Am I happy that I bought it? 100%. It's a fantastic lens. What you're able to produce and get with this is just on another level. I really, really, really like it. Now, it is quite big and heavy, but for the size, like what it is, then it's actually quite light. It's 30% lighter than the Sigma version, and it's 30% lighter than the previous version. So that is like something to keep in mind. Now, if you are on a Sony APS-C camera, then my like recommendation would be the Sony 70mm to 350mm. That lens is a killer. The range you get there is just insane because it's an APS-C, so I think it's like equivalent to 500mm plus on a full frame body. And that lens is so small. Like it's tiny for what it is, so that one I do recommend. But this one is one of my my go-to lens for photography when I need a super zoom lens. However, my friend, as I've been telling you guys now, I did actually order a lens that might actually be replacing all of these lenses. Now, it hasn't arrived yet. I was hoping it was going to arrive now, but like I live rural up North Sweden, so things take a long time to get to me. And that lens is actually the Tamron 28 to 200mm. It's not that expensive for what it is. Now, I know that you're going to look at me and be like, yeah, but it's like f5.6. That sucks. But my friend, it's like from 2.8 to 5.6. And for the type of photography that I do, then I don't really need like any better. So if I were getting that lens, the Tamron 28 to 200, which I've already bought now, then I could honestly just buy a Sony 16 to 35mm, and then I have two lenses. And if I buy the 16 to 35mm f2, then that's a tiny lens. And what's so insane about this Tamron lens is that it's so small and compact. And I don't need lower f-stop because 80% of my photography, I think more like 82% of my photography is landscape photography. And I know we're always like chasing the f-stop and say like, if it's not lower f-stop, it's a bad lens, but it totally depends on what you are doing. For landscape photography, brother, I'm not shooting in f2.8, almost never. So the other day I was like, why am I carrying with me all these fantastic glass that is so heavy because it has such a wide aperture when I'm shooting in like the lowest that goes to f4, like, usually f8 to f11. So I don't need it. I was hanging with my friend Mats Peter Iversen, who put me onto this lens, and he had two small lenses with him in his landscape kit. And he was like, I'm a landscape photographer. I need to pack light. That's all I need to think about. So if the lenses are good enough, then, and they're small and light and compact, it's go-to for me. Sony 16 to 35mm f4, and then the Tamron 28 to 200mm tiny lens f2.8 to 5.6, and it's such a light setup covered from 60mm to 200mm in two small lenses. But let's see. Maybe it won't replace this. Only time will tell. I get it, I think, today or tomorrow. So as you can see, you only really need two lenses when it comes to photography. If you pick the 24 to 70mm, then you have to think ultra wide angle or tight, or you go with the setup that I just showed you. However, there are times, my friend, where you want to pack more. For me, it's when I'm going abroad or when I'm going on longer trips. And that's when I like pack my camera bag with a lot of cool equipment. If you want to see what I have when I'm going out on journeys like this, then next, my friend, you should watch this video right here.